G'day guys, it's Tia and welcome back to the channel. Today we have a new type of video, and in this video we will be answering the age-old question of which Fallout game has the strongest super mutant. In this video I will be comparing the strongest super mutant foot soldier variants up against one another, comparing stats such as hit points, damage resistance, strength points, melee damage, the ability to use sophisticated weapons, and finally mental acuity. I will not be diving into the lore of the creation of every generation or division of super mutant. This is purely a philosophical question of which Fallout game has the strongest super mutant and which one would win in a fight against each other. The classic Fallout games stats work differently to the newer ones, so keep that in mind as I read the statistics. Also, quick mention, I will not be including monstrosities like Frank Horrigan, Graham, or Forks in these matchups, as that would make the competition completely unfair, but they will get honourable mentions when the time is right. I will also be comparing all the strongest versions of the behemoths from each game in their own section of the video. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Fallout 1, the Mariposa Super Mutants. The original Fallout is a bit tricky when trying to acquire numbers and stats for its super mutant foot soldiers. While there are only 3 variants I could find in-game, including the Nightkin, excluding other named mutants as well, the strongest super mutant in Fallout 1 would have to be the Lieutenant, or Lou for short. He is the Master's right-hand man and has the most impressive statistics that I could find out of all the super mutants in the game. With a hit point count of 250, armor of 37 because of his unique super mutant metal armor, a maxed out strength of 10, melee damage of 5, the ability to use Gatling laser, and finally, Lou is probably one of the most intelligent super mutants to ever appear in the Fallout universe. While his intelligence is only at 8, he does possess a high form of intellect thanks to being the best of his FEV batch when he was converted to a super mutant. Moving on to Fallout 2, while there are not many categories of strength or rank between super mutants in this game or the first one, for example Brutes, Masters, or Overlords, the strongest super mutant once again falls to a named super mutant. This one you might be familiar with thanks to his appearance in Fallout New Vegas. It is Marcus, and since he is able to be a companion, that means he levels up with the player at max player level. At max player level, Marcus has 205 hit points, armor of 29, strength rating of 10, melee damage of 18, and while he is proficient with energy weapons, heavy weapons, and unarmed, he will use whatever the player gives him, within reason of course. This makes him very versatile and useful. And finally, Marcus is another first generation super mutant, meaning he is incredibly intelligent. He is a leader and has been a sheriff of 2 major towns. While he's not as smart or as strong as Lou, he definitely holds his own. Honourable mention to Frank Horrigan, the monster of the Enclave. Now, if I included Frank in this list, he would win without a competition, hands down. And technically, he isn't the same species of super mutant as either the East Coast or the West Coast super mutants. Frank is a unique, monstrous creation of the Enclave. With that being said, he has a staggering 999 hit point pool, an armor of 45 and 70% resistance to every known source of damage. Not only is his strength set to 10, but every single special stat is also set to 10, completely maxed out. A melee damage of 30, Frank uses unique weapons called the N-Boss Plasma Gun, doing 70 damage per shot, and the N-Boss Knife doing 30 damage per swing. Frank is a true monster and a clear winner of this competition if he was to be included. Now on to Fallout 3, the Vault 87 Super Mutants. This is where the games make my job a whole lot easier. The stats of these guys are so much clearer and easier to find. Now let's get straight into it. Excluding Forks for obvious reasons, but in case you don't know, Forks is basically invincible with a staggering 15,000 hit points. So for obvious reasons, he's excluded just like Frank. The clear winner of Fallout 3's strongest super mutant is the Overlord. The East Coast mutants tend to evolve and gain size with age, so the Overlord is on the brink of its life cycle, about to become a behemoth. The super mutant Overlord has a whopping 1,250 hit points and surprisingly 0 damage resistance. Most Overlords have a strength of 10, a melee damage of 6, are able to use advanced weapons like the Gatling laser, tri-beam laser rifle, and missile launcher. While their intelligence is questionable, they make up for it in pure brute force. Back to the West Coast super mutants in Fallout New Vegas. Super mutants in this game revert back to the classic Fallout super mutants, and this can be seen in the stats. As the super mutants are much weaker than their East Coast counterparts, the strongest super mutant in Fallout New Vegas would undoubtedly be Lily Bowen. A former assassin for the Master, she is also a Nightkin, which means she can go invisible at will. And now she serves the player as a companion, meaning she also levels with the player. At max player level, Lily will have 888 hit points, She has a damage resistance of 15. She has a strength of 9, melee damage of 24 from a vertibird sword. She uses an assault carbine but is able to equip most heavy and melee weapons, ranging from Gatling lasers to super sledges. While Lily's mental state is declining, she is a brilliant tactician and clearly is very intelligent. Now, onto Fallout 4, the Institute Super Mutants. These are a mixed bag from a genetic standpoint, looking much like a combination of the Mariposa and Vault 87 Super Mutants. The most powerful Super Mutants of Fallout 4 is the Warlord, with 1,535 hit points, 135 damage resistance, strength of 10, melee damage of 24. Warlords use energy weapons like Gauss rifles and laser rifles. They are smarter than their Vault 87 cousins, but still considered to have the intellect of a toddler. And last, but probably least, Fallout 76. The Huntersville Super Mutants. Almost identical to the Institute strain in appearance. According to data mine sources, the Warlord is again the most powerful regular super mutant, but is clearly weak compared to others on this list. The Warlord has only 700 hit points, 135 damage resistance, no clear strength label, an impressive melee damage of 70 though. Although they use less sophisticated weapons such as assault rifles and miniguns, while they are still very dumb, they're considered smarter than Vault 87 super mutants. Bonus Behemoth Quickfire Round. There are only 3 games that feature Behemoths: Fallout 3, 4, and 76. Fallout 76 takes the cake with the most powerful Behemoth with a staggering 4,025 hit points, 250 damage resistance, 10 strength, 225 melee damage, the ability to use a fire hydrant as a fucking weapon, but the intelligence of an Australian VCAL student that smokes crack, meaning they are dumb as fuck. Wow, that was a long video. If you made it this far, thank you heaps. This has been which Fallout has the strongest super mutant. There are a lot of factors and it is open to interpretation, and we have to take into account that the original Fallouts have a different HP and damage system. So if they were upscaled to the creation engine and made today, we can assume the numbers would be much higher. But for me, the clear winner of the title of strongest super mutant, not including Graham, Frank Corrigan, or Forks, has got to be Fallout 3. And the Vault 87 Super Mutant Overlord. I remember my first time fighting one of these guys in the Broken Steel DLC. It was a tough challenge. They have a huge amount of health, so much so that they don't even need damage resistance. They use insane deadly weapons with deadly precision. On top of that, they have secret perks encoded into their stats to do bonus damage with said weapons. Their intellect is questionable, but they are smart enough to roam in packs of their lesser brethren and to use the best weapons that they can find. On top of that, they have the most unique model and face in all of the games in my opinion. But that is just my opinion. Be sure to let me know which Fallout you thought had the strongest super mutant. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and even subscribe. I think I'll be making this into a series, and until next time, I've been Tia. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.